Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back.
Calling all BluePrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluePrint Power.
Gets me every time. Welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Tuesday, as you can hear by my premature announcement. We will be joined by Coach Rob Regish in just a moment for the BluePrint Power Hour. Got a couple announcements to make of my own first. First of all, the secret word is still in force. You have to listen during the commercial break, and you can win yourself a box of tasty pastries. We're giving a bunch of tasty pastries away right now. Our title sponsor, as you know, is Legendary Foods, and they have the best snacks in the world if you are not a fan of sugar, but are a fan of high protein. You can go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary, use the code SHR10, get their new red velvet cake-style tasty pastries. You'll thank me later. And as I was mentioning a second ago, if you don't want to spring for a box, then win a box. Listen during the commercial breaks, and you will hear a secret word. And just email that secret word to onair@superhumanradio.net, and you're entered to win. People are loving. Lots of people are winning. You should be too. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention was we have shorter commercial breaks. For a long time, people have commented that, the commercial breaks. Well, that's how we pay for the show. But Natalie Kapitsky, my director of communications and social media, and I discussed it, and we're trying something. So the commercial breaks are much shorter than they used to be, which means there's more content in that given hour. So hopefully people like that, and we'll take advantage of that. Tomorrow, February 17th, today's February 16th. Tomorrow, February 17th, we have a special edition of Fathers and Sons with none other than retired Navy SEAL Chief Eddie Gallagher. Many of you have learned about him not too long ago when our government wanted to put him in jail for killing a terrorist. Yeah, can you believe it? And of course, he was acquitted of those charges because they were trumped up. And as a result, he is now in the mainstream spotlight. He's launched some new products. He's written a new book. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow, but also what it's like being Eddie Gallagher as a father and raising boys. So don't miss that tomorrow. And without further delay, we'll play Rob's music appropriately.
Calling all BluePrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluePrint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
How you doing, Rob?
I am doing well, especially since I hear we're a lot warmer than you are. We're 38 degrees here.
Yeah, it's 19 degrees here today, and it's supposed to get down to 9 later tonight. And we have. I didn't do a show yesterday because we were told, this snowstorm is coming, and we only got 5 inches of the supposed 8 to 10 inches.
Yeah.
And I should have just came into the studio yesterday, but I'm here today. Nobody's driving today. Everybody's still home. No one knows how to drive in Kentucky when it snows. I grew up in New York where literally every week of the winter, you got at least a foot of snow. And so, this is old hat to me. This is no big deal.
Yeah, it's freezing rain up here, and yeah, we're used to it, right? This is the Northeast. You got to
Yeah,
be.
yeah. If you can't drive in snow in the Northeast, then you can't survive. You can't go to work. You can't eat. Forget it. You die. That's it.
Yeah.
You have a sale right now to promote about Synthogen. People love Synthogen. Talk about it.
Yeah, I as luck would have it, I just got off the phone with John Drake. He kind of called me out of the blue and he said, "Listen, we want to do something special for all the fans, certainly of the show and Synthogen." And so we're having a super special on Mass Pro Synthogen, where folks can save the maximum amount on that product by using code Coach15 when you check out at synthogen.com. And so what you're going to see when you go there is there are multi-packs of Synthogen that are already deeply discounted, anywhere between like 10 and $50. And the best part is your 15% discount goes on top of that. So, theoretically on a twin pack, you're going to be saving, all things considered, $35, almost 60 on a trifecta. So it's only good while supplies last, and I'm told we were starting to get down there. So please don't procrastinate if you're interested. And one other big one, you will get free priority shipping to U.S. addresses on any multi-pack order. So it is a huge deal. We don't do this often, but I'm glad to say we're doing it now, and it's a great time to grab an extra few bottles if you're already a fan, or certainly try it out if you haven't. One-time use on the code, by the way, so make the most of it. Again, you can go to synthogen.com, synthagen.com, and the code to use is Coach15. That may also, I just got a text here, it may also be good on my other product, Tranquilligen, and or adaptogen. I'll try to get clarity on that later, but certainly Synthogen, now is the time to buy.
Okay, we start with our first question. It's from Gabriel Shaw. My question is whether you see any major advantage to dips over decline bench presses. I ask because I recently had several years of severe shoulder problems to the point where I could not press even the empty bar without severe pain. And while I don't know if dips caused the problem, they definitely aggravated it. I know you're a big fan of dips, but now that I'm back to 100%, wait, there's more question here. I just have to scroll down to it. And stronger than I was before, I'm reluctant to even try them when decline presses seem to do the same thing at lower risk, unless there is some big benefit that I'm missing.
Yeah, Gabriel, he asked a very interesting question. And I don't know if we've addressed this before, but the simple answer here is this: perform whatever movement that, number one, is safe, that you can perform safely, and number two, adequately overloads the muscle. Number one is going to be different for everyone, but certainly we can speak here to number two, because we know EMG studies have been done some years ago now looking specifically at this issue, and in particular, the pectorals, which movements activate the pecs the most. So I'm going to give you a list of movements here, and it's from most to least. And it's interesting, at least it was to me. Number one on the list was not a surprise to me, the decline barbell bench press. And specifically, they were using a decline of 15 degrees. Right behind that was the flat bench. And behind that was the incline bench press, barbell bench, both at 25 and 45 degrees. That wasn't a surprise. What came next was the next movement that scored well were cable crossovers, of all things. Then dumbbell bench presses, then the butterfly machine, dumbbell flies, pullovers, rounded out most of the weighted movements. Now, when they looked specifically at body weight movements, dips were number one on the list. Followed closely thereafter, though, by push-ups, and then this kind of struck me as odd, but they used the term flexing the pecs in a fly-like position. I don't know how you do that with body weight, but I suppose it's possible. As you can see, though, the 4 barbell bench variations that were studied provided the highest levels of target muscle activation. Here's the big disclaimer. I don't think these EMG studies tell the whole story. For example, cable crossovers score better than on the dumbbell bench press and pullovers. That may be when looking solely at the pecs. Personally speaking, there's no way in hell I'd do cable crossovers before, some of those other movements. Personally, I'd be doing a mix of declines, heavy weighted dips, pullovers, and various push-ups in that order. Remember, in the real world where it counts, you don't isolate muscles to use them, to push or to pull things. In pushing, you can push somebody away as in a fight. You're using, right, your chest, your shoulders, your triceps, along with statically contracting other muscle groups, such as your abs, to transfer the power, for example, from your legs and your hips into your upper body so you can push harder. Same with blocking in football. Anybody that's played on the line knows what I'm saying. So I would tell you, do the movements that you can perform safely. Think in terms of the most muscle group activated instead of just the pecs, and choose your movements accordingly. They shouldn't differ too much from the list that I gave, but those would be my thoughts on the matter, and I'll stick with my opinion on that one.
Why do you think dips cause just about everybody who uses them today pain in the front of their shoulders and eventually shoulder problems? I mean, is it a movement that we shouldn't have ever been doing, but because some bodybuilders or gurus popularized it, everybody wants to do it? It's not a natural movement for the elbows to track behind the body and the hands to stay along the side of the body.
It's interesting. I give that a lot of thought. There are some people, such as myself, that have dipped heavy their whole life and never had any issues with their shoulders or pecs or anything tearing or anything like that. There are other people, certainly, that they just look at a set of dip bars, right, and they tear something. I think, personally, a lot of it has to do with the width that people use on the dip and how much they lean forward or not, as the case may be. I would tell you this: if you're injury-free, use a variety, or try to find a variety of dip widths such that you can find one that agrees with you. And if none of them agree with you, cut bait, man, move on. Find your next big movement, whether that's the push-up or the decline bench press.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The next question comes from Mike D, last name withheld. My source sent me a price list the other day, and it had DNP on it. When I asked him about it, he said it was a new, much safer version of DNP. Something about N-acetylcysteine being added to it. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, this one perplexed me. I don't play in that genre, so I called him up and I said, "Well, what are you talking about? What is this safer DNP?" And frankly, I've wondered how long it would take for somebody to come up with this. But here's the deal: DNP's uncoupling action is what leads right to this extreme fat loss sometimes. And you hear it tied to stories of, gosh, I was losing a pound or more a day. Okay, maybe, but in some cases not. I'll get there in a second. In the process of that uncoupling action, a lot of oxidation occurs at a very accelerated rate. Sidebar, this is probably the least of your problems. But here's what I found out. The new DNP that's showing up on price lists, and it showed up on more than one that I'm aware of, is simply this: DNP complexed with antioxidants like N-acetylcysteine, vitamin C. I've seen pine pollen extract. It's ludicrous. The safety spin is that these antioxidants will somehow mop up all of this excess oxidation and everybody's going to walk away safe. It's ridiculous, and it's literally killing people. DNP is so deadly due to the fact that it makes ATP energy production less efficient. a lot less efficient. Yeah, that'll increase fat loss, but anybody that's ever used DNP or its over-the-counter alternative, usinic acid, while it was available, knows you are just dead tired, right? All the time when you're using that stuff. You might say it short circuits that ATP reaction. What happens is that part of the energy that's normally produced from cellular respiration, right, is wasted as heat. Antioxidants don't mitigate that effect. And tragically, we now have evidence of that. Recently, there was a 50-year-old German, 50-year-old German man, recently bought this so-called safe DNP on the internet. He was told only people who don't know what they're doing, think it's dangerous. If you know what you're doing, the pounds are going to fly off, guaranteed, little to no risk. If you only use this super safe DNP and follow this well thought out cycle, well, that's exactly what he did. And it cost him his life. What did he do? He was on and off DNP for 44 days. So, here's a reasonably healthy, for his weight anyway, 312-pound obese individual. He suffered from nausea and dizziness. He perspired violently. He was vomiting a yellow liquid.
And some people, when they use DNP, their skin turns yellow because it comes out of your skin. So wait, he used it for 44 days on and off. Like how on and off?
The case study that I saw said that every 10 days or so, he came off for 4 days, right? And so that was his quote safe DNP cycle. And he wasn't taking monstrous amounts. He was using between 200 and 600 milligrams a day. To be clear, there's no safe amount of DNP, okay? But 200 to 600 milligrams a day is pretty standard advice that I can.
Wait a minute. I've always heard DNP dosed in micrograms. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. I've got milligrams here. I've never used it, so it's tough to say. Okay. The problem is this, right? He came off for 4 days at a time. The problem is he didn't realize the half-life of DNP is about 6 days. So even when he came off, he still had lots of DNP coursing through him. And so the lesson is this. There's no such thing as safe DNP use. It doesn't need to kill you right away from a monster dose. You can die, as I think this person did, from a cumulative amount that built up in his system. So look, here's the bottom line, okay? Stay the hell away from DNP. This guy, believe it or not, in 6 weeks, he lost a meager 4.4 kilos, which is what, 10 pounds, less than that? Something like that. He also lost his life. Don't forget it. Don't mess with DNP.
So I'm looking at a paper that's published in the National Institutes of Health. This was published in September of 2011, and the paper is titled 24-dinitrophenol DNP, a weight loss agent with significant acute toxicity and risk of death. And they claim that 400 milligrams, and it was milligrams, not micrograms, so you're right, 400 milligrams a day is the maximum dose. And even at that dose, they had recorded 62 published deaths in the medical literature.
Yeah.
So, this is, just for the record, you know what else is an uncoupling, mitochondrial uncoupler? Thyroid hormone. Go to a Mexican pharmacy and order some Cytomel. It's safer. You're not going to die from it.
Yeah.
Crazy. This is a toxic industrial solvent.
It was used to explode sticks of dynamite. Believe it or not. Yeah, it was used in that industry.
This is people. The fact that people still use DNP shocks me. When you could get thyroid hormone, you could probably get a prescription from your doctor for thyroid hormone if you're over 40.
Yeah, and if you're doing everything else right, you're going to lose as much or more without the death
The
problem.
risk of death. Yeah, dead people lose weight really fast, by the way.
Yeah,
Like
yes,
once
they
you're
do.
dead, the pounds just melt off of you, literally. You'll be skin and bones in no time. Scott
Stay
Dawson
away.
says, I know that you like both body weight and weight training, but I'm really confused. So much stuff online about both, and I'm not sure where to even start. What would you recommend for a 19-year-old with an extremely ectomorph body type? I got to say something first, real quick.
Sure.
Dr. Brad Schoenfeld published a study not too long ago that shows that there's no such thing as endomorph, ectomorph, blah, blah, blah. There's just people who eat enough to gain muscle and people who don't. End of story. But go ahead, take it away. I know you believe that way too. So
The short answer here is once again, it depends. And so at 19, I would ask you, and you need to answer this question. What do you want to do? Do you want to get as big and strong as fast as possible, like I did when I was younger? Or do you want to be lean and as pound for pound strong as you can possibly be? Training for both of those things is different. And so is the diet. Diet's probably the biggest, difference. One involves a lot of eating. I would tell you even force feeding. Probably more, right, than most people are accustomed to. The other one involves what I'll just call sensible eating, but no force feeding, if that makes sense. My recommendation to people is usually, right, when it comes to body weight training, age adjusted. So if you're 19 now, roughly 20% of your stuff is calisthenics, the other 80% weights. However, he offered an important detail. He's saying he's an extreme ectomorph. And so given that, I would instead, if you want to, get the best of both worlds, which is what a lot of guys come back with, I would instead prescribe you a 50-50 mix of body weight stuff and weights. Training heavy has its benefits, not the least of which is you will build a world-class central nervous system that will translate well to the rest of your program and into most other things. So that's number one. Even without the heavy eating, your strength levels can only benefit in that respect, okay? Especially at 19. While we're on that topic, you will never again have such perfect levels of testosterone, growth hormone, IGF-1, DHEA, insulin sensitivity. Over the next 10 years, you're going to be in your hormonal prime. And I would encourage you to make the most of it, whatever that means to you. I would entertain, if you want to go 50-50 and get a little bit of both, I would entertain 3, possibly 4 6-week periods during the year when you do eat big, okay? And I'll define eating big as body weight times 20 in calories, although you might find you need more. I wouldn't go too much beyond that though, because, look, and I'm talking about eating 6 or 7 small meals a day too. That plan that is so popular today was never meant to be used longer than 6 weeks. If you really do your homework, if you study the origin of that diet, it was never meant to go longer than 6 weeks. And, and never certainly to use it all the time. They were very clear, do this sparingly. And you find out why. If you don't, you get fat. The longer you overfeed, the greater the enzymes that store fat. It's just that simple. Anyway, he is right about this. The number of calisthenics programs, I think he said, is just astronomical.
Yeah, I know.
I was shocked, man, when I went online the other day. I couldn't believe it. It's utterly confusing. So to try to put a stick in the ground, here's what I would tell you. I would suggest sticking with Paul Wade's Convict Conditioning series, okay? But also 2 other books. One would be The Naked Warrior by Pavel Selene.
Yeah,
That's and there's another one called Overcoming Gravity. That's probably the calisthenics Bible. The former two, Convict Conditioning 1 and 2, are incredible works that will blow up many sacred cows. So understand that and be ready for it before you start reading. The latter two books, the way I look at it is they plug some of the gaps in convict conditioning that you might find, although there aren't many. And they give you step-by-step workouts, if you like that sort of thing. Once you're past the newbie gain stage and the going gets a lot tougher, I still consider the BluePrint, its shell of phase shift training best in class. If you're plateaued, there's nothing that's going to get you moving again like that. Why? You cycle through 5 different training types in 10 weeks or less. Every single one of them has an extremely high rate of success in the training population. The last thing I'll tell you is this: I still can't answer this question, and I will never be able to answer it. I started at 143 and got to 252 with heavy weights, and pretty much heavy weights. That's it. The question I have in my mind is, could I have done that if instead I used calisthenics? My gut tells me I could, although I would had to have been a lot smarter about how I trained. But I'll never know. And so I can't sit here and honestly tell, the kid asking me, can I use calisthenics to get to my biggest and strongest? I honestly don't know. I wish
I don't think so. I don't, because we have enough N=1 examples out there of people who've done calisthenics for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
And none of them exceed what I would consider their lower limits of body weight. I mean, when you look at these guys who do calisthenics, they're ripped to shreds, they're super strong, they're agile, but they're in the 120, 150, maybe 170-pound range. They're not much more than that. And,
the masters are all of that amount. You're right.
You're not gonna see it because because the body won't allow it. The body understands what its goals are. The other thing I'd like to mention is the eating part of this game is the most important part. I know a lot of bodybuilders who don't really lift all out heavy like Ronnie Coleman. There's a lot of bodybuilders, they just stimulate the muscle and they let the nutrition and the rest of the day take place. My nephew, Timmy, has been staying with us for 4 weeks now. And he's been training with me for 4 weeks. And he's been eating the way he's been eating 27 to 3,000 calories a day. And in the beginning, he loved it. He was eating. He was like, oh, I love eating. Yesterday, he said he hates eggs. I can't eat eggs anymore. I says, well, then have beef. He goes, no, I'm tired of beef too. And so people don't understand when you say that the eating is the hard part of this game, because even Tim has been eating right every single day. God bless this kid. He goes to sleep at 9. He gets up. He has his breakfast early in the morning. He's training every day. He's doing cardio. But all of a sudden, if left to your own machinations, your body goes, I don't want to eat all this food anymore. And it's called lack of desire, lack of appetite. You don't say to yourself, I don't want, you just go, no, I don't feel like eating that. Your body starts to shut down, because from an evolutionary perspective, muscle is very metabolically expensive. The body doesn't want a lot of muscle. So in order for you to push back on that, you have to do things that are unnatural. It is unnatural to eat 3,000 calories a day when you're 150 pounds. Now he's put on almost 10 pounds in a month, and it's not fat because he can see his abs. He's getting leaner actually, but he's losing appetite. He's losing the desire to eat. And I said to him, I told you the eating part of this is hard. Now think about a bodybuilder who does that every day, every week, every month, every year for a decade. This is why there are so few 300-pound ripped to shred bodybuilders. It's not because of the drugs. It's because nobody is willing to eat like that day in and day out for 10 years.
I think John Perillo proved that. If you remember in the 1990s, he was saying someday there's going to be a 300-pound ripped to shreds bodybuilder, and that day will come when they're able to pack away 8, 7, 8, 9,000 calories a day. Maybe you're not doing that much, but listen, the message is simple. You need to eat. If you don't, you're shortchanging yourself.
Bear makes a good point. Lee Haney's motto: stimulate, don't annihilate.
Yeah.
He never had an injury because he never tried to do anything heroic. He just wanted to stimulate the muscle, and then he ate and slept and did it again the next day. And those millimeters build on millimeters, and days turn into weeks and months and years. And next thing you know, you're a ripped to shreds bodybuilder. But the hard part of this game is the eating. Look at Eddie. What's his name? Eddie, the guy who was first guy who deadlifted 1,100 pounds.
Eddie Hall?
Yeah, Eddie Hall. Look at Eddie Hall. Eddie Hall did an interview, and the whole interview involved his eating and crapping. He said, people don't understand that all I do is eat and crap because I sit on the toilet bowl for an hour at a time, he said. Like
you will know. Yeah, you will know where all the bathrooms are.
Yeah, he said my hemorrhoids kill me all the time. I mean, he was being honest. And this is what people don't understand. They see Eddie Hall deadlifting and they go, "Oh, I'm going to deadlift like that." Yeah, but you're not going to eat like that, so you're never going to deadlift like that. You see, you may have the drive and the motivation and the idea that, "Oh, I can do this." Yeah, you can do it. But the thing that everybody doesn't understand, all these fitness warriors and all these people out there don't understand, is the reason that everybody isn't super strong and super big and super ripped is because it is so friggin' hard to eat consistently like this and not want to vomit every single day.
Yep.
And that is where the magic is. Dave Palumbo is a good example. Rob Robertson says, yeah. And Dave has been diagnosed with thyroid cancer. We're hoping and praying for him. Well, thyroid cancer is not a death sentence anyway. But yes, Dave Palumbo is a great example of this. Look at this. We have to take a break. But but stay with us because they're short breaks. These commercials are very, very short. And during the commercial break, make sure to listen for the secret word. We'll be right back. The power of light can be truly life-changing and an important element for every superhuman. Because of this, I want you to experience the power of award-winning Celluma light therapy. Celluma utilizes NASA research technology to improve health at the cellular level and is cleared by the FDA to effectively treat a variety of pain, muscle and joint conditions, as well as facial wrinkles and acne. Our entire team here at Superhuman Radio uses it. Its innovative shape-taking design allows for easy placement anywhere on the body. Choose from 13 different models. For an exclusive listener discount, go to shrnetwork.biz/Celluma. That's CELLUMA. And use code SHR10 to save 10% off of one of these award-winning devices. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/White Oak and use code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at Synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Underwhelming.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. Well, we have a couple comments I want to get up here. Michael Nippert says that for him, eating properly is very, very tough. And it's true. It really is. It's the hard part of the game.
It's a job.
Look, we all know people at our gym that have been lifting for decades, and they look exactly the same. The only thing they're doing differently is they're just not eating right. That's it. We have a question real quick to work in here from Robert Thompson. He says, I'm 66. I run short sprints against friends at the gym. Any weight training exercises to improve speed and prevent injury? I follow Doug Bernoulli's method of cables, machines, and dumbbells. Thanks.
Well, first off, let me say I'm astounded.
Sorry about that. Start again. Sorry.
I am astounded that he's sprinting at 66. So, yeah, he probably knows something I don't, rather than vice versa. What I can tell you about sprinting is this. I found two things that are very helpful. One, the reverse hyperextension, particularly when you're using some band tension for the resistance. You will, if you simply work on it twice a week, once heavy, once light, in 3 weeks, when you go out to sprint again, it feels like somebody's pushing you. Honest to God. So what does that tell us? Hamstring strength. I would tell you to really push up the hamstring work. But also one other thing, and I use this with my son and his friend. I will attach a resistance band to the side of a power rack or some support, and I will put that around a hook on their belt, and I will have them perform what I call first step sprints, which is you're sprinting with tension obviously on the band, but your real goal is to improve your first, second, and third step speed. And I can only tell you that they got fast quick, and my son is not fast. He's like me. He's just very average athlete, so a little below par in some areas. He's gotten very quick, very fast, so it's working.
What do you think about pulling a sled? With weight?
Pulling a sled is great. Parachute work is great. If you've seen those, that, believe it or not, I think was pioneered by Rick Bruner, the CEO of Athletica back in the day.
Really?
But chutes, sleds, sure, they're all forms, right, of resistance. And you take that resistance off, it's like taking the donut off a baseball bat. Boom. A lot of speed.
Paul Miller says, I'm about your age, 50, with a similar background. In fact, I think we both lifted in the same meet once. Anyway, I've always had great shoulder flexibility, no issues with knees or lower back, etc. Unfortunately, that's changing. And for the first time, I'm having trouble just getting around. What can I do to fix it?
Well, what's going on here isn't really anything new. We just don't think it'll ever happen to us, right? Why would you? After, say, 3 or 4 decades of few, if any, problems. So, presumably your form is the same. The movements are the same or similar. You're not doing anything out of the norm. So what's changed? What's changed is this. You can still train your muscles at age 50 and older to get bigger and stronger. Okay. I've done it. I've seen other people do it too. What I can't do is to do the same for my tendons, ligaments, bursa, fascia, joints, all of the underlying tissues. I cannot strengthen them, at least to the same degree, nor at the same speed. And let's just face facts. Even if you get a little pull as opposed to a tear, it takes a long time at this age to recover, right? The reality is that you don't see 80-year-olds squatting, deadlifting, and benching extremely heavy weights in gyms, at least with any regularity. The reason is that their underlying framework is starting to give way after years and years of it in some cases. In some cases, it's neglect, but in other cases, it's just age, So first, the framework, a little bit about that. I want you to picture a house when it's being built, right? The wooden frame. Before the carpeting goes in, before the wiring, before the roof goes on, what's built? The framework, okay? That mostly wooden skeleton then holds everything else in place. And so your tendons, ligaments, and joints are that framework. If you spend 3 or 4 decades, okay, adding to that framework, right, you get a bigger roof, stronger walls. If you put an addition on your house, right, but you never do anything more for the framework, what happens? You're going to have problems, okay? Probably big ones somewhere down the line. I found, and I'm open if somebody's got better solutions, I found only 2 things that can help, let's say, rebuild people's framework. Active stretching and basic calisthenic exercises. Now, hear me out on this. I don't think calisthenics are perfect, but it's indisputable. You show me someone who's like a gymnast who's trained cals all their life, and I will show you someone with a much stronger framework than most people that have powerlifted for 40 years, but gave lip service to stretching. These people are incredibly strong in their given sport and certain calisthenics movements, not because they carry more muscle than bodybuilders, but because they're tendon and ligament strong. If you go back and you look at the old-time strongman books on how to get big and strong, they teach you it's not all in the muscles. A lot of it is tendons and ligaments. Now, back to the calisthenics. The only problem with that advice is this. It mandates that you perform the absolute simplest calisthenic workouts from the easiest ones on up. Okay, so I'm talking not just push-ups, but push-ups against a wall or a desk to start. If you think that's remedial, think again. It's fundamental, at least when it comes to your connective tissues. Absolutely necessary to rebuild your framework then from the ground up. Everything from the tendons in your fingers, right, to the tendons holding your glutes in place, they need to be rebuilt and strengthened. And by the way, if you don't believe this, go back and try to perform some fingertip push-ups. You literally have to go back to performing push-ups against a wall in most cases, or if you're lucky, girl push-ups. But nothing beyond that. If you haven't trained these tendons and ligaments to deal with that stress, you need to. And you don't do that by hopping up into a push-up position and start banging them out. It doesn't happen. Hard work also on active stretching. In other words, stretching that's held against something and held for X amount of time is probably more practical for those of you who don't want to do the basic calisthenics. And there are a lot of people who don't want to even be seen doing it. The fastest way, in my mind, is to use both. The book, Becoming a Supple Leopard, it would be one that I would highly recommend to anyone interested in getting started with stretching or fixing old injuries and doing the best you can to bulletproof yourself going forward.
All right, so I have to weigh in a little bit. I'm a little bit older than you. So first thing you have to understand is, where are these problems coming from? And they may be coming from soft tissue, but if you're lifting heavy, there's plenty of research, well-done studies that show that soft tissue improves and upregulates to your lifting. What most of us fail to understand is the accumulation of metabolic debris in tissue, especially in muscle. So you have to first start looking at how do you reduce the metabolic debris, because this is what's causing, when you have muscle pain, soreness, so you sit for a while and you get up and you're kind of stiff and you got to walk it off before everything starts working again. That has nothing to do with soft tissue. That's the actual muscle tissue that either is neurologically impaired, so the muscles are firing gently even though you're sitting still, or you have such a great degree of iron accumulation in your tissue or other metabolic debris that you literally have to start moving the muscle to get it to want to move and be pliable. So the first thing you need to start looking at is, I would get ferritin and total iron binding capacity tested, because this is one that guys suffer from and it's completely overlooked. And donating blood every 2 months, every 3 months for a year or two will actually change this tissue for you, number one. Number two, buy yourself a vibration plate. I just ordered one for this exact reason. The research on vibration plate technology and what it does to improve the inroads of your nervous system, the inroads of blood flow into muscle tissue is undeniable, and it's ignored. It's by and large, it's very ignored. Why? Because the vibration plate industry tried to become a piece of exercise equipment. Oh, if you stand on a vibration plate, it's as good as walking for an hour. Bullshit. It doesn't do the same things that walking for an hour does. But what it does do is help re-stimulate discs to swell up a little bit again and help make new inroads into the nervous system, into muscle, and help make inroads in tissue, muscle tissue by blood flow. And it does all these things that over time kind of start shrinking away and shrinking away. So the first two things I'd say to you, because you're in your 50s, and this is especially true if you're on TRT, is go to any lab test now, one of these places where you can buy your own lab work. You don't need to go to your doctor, and have ferritin and TIBC, total iron binding capacity, done. And if you're in the upper ends of the limit, start donating blood right away, number one. Number two, invest in a $250, $300 vibration plate. They're not expensive. I bought one on Amazon for $250. It will be delivered on the 22nd. And it has full range all the way up to 60 hertz. And it's an oscillating plate, not just the one that goes up and down, because there's some rumor that the one that goes up and down could be tough on knee joints and stuff like that. And start using it 10 minutes a day and watch what happens. Watch and see if you see what the research shows. And that is greater mobility, greater dexterity, increases in blood flow. Your skin starts looking better because as we get older, the blood flow to the periphery of our body starts to retract. It's not as good. Actually, if you have neuropathy, there's evidence that it will reverse neuropathy. For women, it improves cellulite. It gets rid of cellulite because there's that blood flow. So those are the two things I'd recommend looking at too, because with aging, we accumulate a lot of garbage in our tissue. And that may be why we start getting those aches and pains and, my back is bothering me today. My quads are hurting me today. You know, you're just getting old. When you think about it, what is it that's unique about getting old? Assuming that you're supplementing, you're on hormones, you're working out, you're upgrading tissue constantly. What is it? It's the accumulation of garbage in tissue for a half of a decade. I mean, a half of a century. You're 50 years old. You're a half century old. There's a lot of crap in the tissue. Trying to find ways to stimulate it to leave the body, that's going to pay you in dividends, I predict. We actually have to take a break, and we have more comments and questions, and then we have the blueprints of the day. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. More.
Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon.
Underwhelming. P3OM uses a patented natural process to upgrade a well-researched probiotic strain that doubles every 20 minutes once inside your body. The patent proves this strain is proteolytic, meaning it digests protein. It's antiviral, antiretroviral. It eliminates pathogens and waste and is maintainable in the human digestive system. What it does better than any other strain is fight the bad guys, bugs like parasites, viruses, and other pathogens in your gut, and it doesn't require refrigeration. If you suffer from bloating, gas, indigestion, or you just need extra protection from viruses, aka bad bacteria, then I'd suggest trying this super single strain probiotic proven to wipe out bad bacteria. Go to bioptimizers.com/SHR to get a 10% discount coupon with code SHR10 and free shipping on all products. Or save even bigger by signing up to one of the plans to get as much as 38% off. That's bioptimizers.com/SHR. Are you ready to change the way you age? Of course you are. That's why you're here. Juvicel is a new first-of-its-kind dietary supplement that includes 10 key research-backed ingredients shown in studies to support lifespan. Things like resveratrol, fisetin, quercetin, pterostilbene, sulforaphane, turmeric, all in a single dose. You may have some of these ingredients already, but Juvicel is the first to combine them all into a single product to support your lifespan. It's vegan, non-GMO, and sustainable. Live better longer with Juvicel. Go to shrnetwork.biz/live better. Use code SHR and save 20% off today.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back to the Blueprint Power Hour. We have a couple comments and questions I want to get up here, and then we're going to move on to. So Robert Thompson said that we should have somebody from YouTube to come on and talk about Chankanabi sumo wrestler stew. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't know if what he's referring to is I saw an article about Chanko once.
Maybe that's
and it was a dish that the sumo wrestlers, they make a huge dish of it. They just eat it throughout the day. I don't know if it's the same thing, but listen, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to look into that. So Jeff Clifton wants to know what plate I ordered. I can't tell you the name because I don't remember, but there's one vibration plate and it has like 7 different names on it, 7 different manufacturers, quote unquote, private label it. And that means there's only one manufacturer making it. It's a 2,000 watt, 1.5 horsepower motor. I remember that. It has 180 speeds. So that means it goes 1 hertz at a time up to 60 megahertz or whatever, 60 hertz. It comes with like pulleys, like you're supposed to do a workout on it, but I'm not even hooking those up. And they try to focus on women, but it had great reviews. Every single, you can tell it's the same exact vibration plate, same, the way it's built, same colors, same button locations and everything under like 5 or 6 different names. But every one of them, regardless of what name it had great reviews, reliable, put it together in 30 minutes, had it for years. It works fantastic. So I'll try to find the name. I was going to look in my Amazon account and see if I could find it, but I couldn't find it during the commercial. So I'll check that out. And then this, Brodu Even Towel Row posted on, I like that, right? On YouTube, he says that he heard me on the OPD podcast, and I said I was use a supplement before you donate blood to eliminate more toxins. Yeah, it's called DMSA. DMSA is a chelator of heavy metals, so it gets like the mercury and all that stuff into your bloodstream, so you can urinate it away. But if you go donate blood, about within 6 hours of taking it, you get most of that stuff out in the blood. I feel sorry for the person who gets your blood, but hey, you know what I mean? You're giving it to them for free, so what the hell? Here's one from Bear. He says, have either of you ever used the Earth Pulse machine for recovery? I have. First time I have ever heard about it was on the show a few years ago. You guys referenced the big time power lifter at the time. Yeah. He put on 50 pounds on his bench press in like weeks because it improved his sleep so much.
Yeah, I have not used it. However, I hear universally good things about it.
Yeah.
And for different reasons, but look, they wouldn't have been a show sponsor if it wasn't a quality piece of equipment.
Well, and we have a lot of people who use, the reason I found Nate Morrison, who ended up doing Military Fitness Radio, was because he was using the Earth Pulse. And then the guy that you're talking about, the power lifter, he's from California, and I want to say, man, I could almost remember his name. He had a really interesting name. But yeah, no, the Earth Pulse was legit. It's so legit that they now have so many competitors in that space that all want thousands and thousands of dollars for their products, and you think you get the basic Earth Pulse unit for like under $400 or $500, the basic one. So no, it's legit, it's real. Let me make sure we don't have any other comments or questions before we go on to the previously. Let's see here. Okay, so the next question comes from Philip Berry. He says, "How can I get my son into training? He's got so many other distractions. It's maddening." Yeah, he's probably, what, 16, 17?
Right. And so the simplest and the easiest way is the way I did it. And it was this. You don't give him a choice. So at age 12, strategically, before he became a teenager, I laid down the rules, right? You're the adult, you make the rules. And the rules say every Tuesday and Friday, or however many days you want to make it a week, you and your son are going to go to the gym and you're going to train, or at least you're going to train. That's what I did. And that was 3 years ago now. Okay. Today, he's 15. He just started high school. And all things considered, he can do some very impressive things. So a few weeks back, I posted on my Facebook page a picture of him pulling performing the twist hold, which is a lateral chain stretch. He is doing it at the master level, so there's not much to do after you've accomplished that. To describe it to you is a little difficult. It'd be better if you saw it for yourself, but suffice it to say, it takes an extreme amount of flexibility as well as a decent amount of strength to pull off. He can also stand on one leg and full squat close to 100 pounds of additional weight in the form of a weight vest and holding a dumbbell. Okay. His chins and dips are coming along. He's actually built some nice muscle in his back and his legs and his shoulders, none of which would have happened if I just let him play on his phone, which is exactly what he would have done if I didn't say we're going to the gym and we're going to train. Now, there are a few things you can do to make it fun for him, or at least manageable. First, train with him. Show him that you are going to lead by example. I told them early on, I'm never going to ask you to do something that I can't do or I won't try. And they see that every single day we're in there. Okay. That ups their game a little bit. If kiddo knows you're the real deal, then trust me, he'll notice. Second, I would tell you it helps to invite a friend, right? So I train both my son, Nicholas, and one of his friends. So they always have that at least to look forward to, right? It's not just dad barking orders at his son. It's the team, and the team involves his friend. Now, sometimes they talk school and games, etc. But when it comes showtime, they've got their game face on and they know how to flip that switch, which is a skill in and of itself. Third, I would encourage him and point out the progress that he is making. Nick, as I just said, he can do some amazing things, but like all of us, there are also things that he struggles with. You need to explain to the kids and your son that's entirely natural. And looking at his friend, he's going to see the truth in that, okay? Because Nick can, pull off the twist hold and do some, very impressive pistols, dips, and chins. Those are his strong points. His friend, on the other hand, can do full bridge push-ups, hold a handstand, and almost walk on his hands now. If my son tried either of those two things, he'd break his neck right now. But he also knows if he trains hard enough, they'll be possible someday. So it's all relative, right? They can see that I'm telling them the truth about these things, and you need to follow the same rules, because these kids know a hell of a lot more about what's going on than I think we give them credit for. And finally, I want you to understand this. They build a lot more than muscles by performing these workouts and training. They're building something much more powerful. They're called habits. Going to the gym twice a week is no big deal for them. They've been doing it for years, been part of their life for years. It's like brushing their teeth, right? They might not always like it or look forward to it, but they do it regularly, and they have been doing it for 3 years now. What's the alternative? Let's say you brought your son to the casino every, 2 days a week, every day for 3 years. What do you think that'd be normal to him?
Right.
He'd be like, hey, I'm just going to take the money that I worked so hard for and give it away, So you're building habits, and understand they're very powerful, constructive habits. So, does it take away from your time? Yeah, maybe. And it can be a lot of driving too. But you know what? To me, it's worth it. It's worth it. Everyone listening knows, right? Because this is kind of our thing, right? Everyone listening knows the benefits of regular training. And there are myriad of them. I don't need to go over them. Best return on your investment of any activity that you will ever find. And I say that to them all the time. Guys, this set is going to take less than a minute. Yes, it's going to be excruciatingly difficult, but it's going to give back every day thereafter in the form of dividends. And you will see the next time you try this, you're going to be a little bit stronger. Someday your son's going to look back. He's going to thank you for dragging him along to the gym. Until then, I would tell you, just enjoy the process. Try to build some fun into it. I do believe it's one of, if not the most important gift that you can give a son. Time with dad and teaching him. This is really what you're teaching him. You're teaching him to invest in himself. That's a big deal, because there are a lot of his friends that will invest in all around them, but they will not invest in themselves. And look, we know how that ends up. You want the best for your son, do right by him, bring him to the gym.
Real quick before we take the last break and cover the blueprint tip of the day, the machine I bought is a Pinty, P-I-N-T-Y, 2000 watt vibration trainer. But you'll see that Pinty is just one of the names on this same exact 2000 watt vibration plate. And I happened to buy the Pinty because it was literally $30 cheaper than the same one with a different brand name on it. But yeah, that's what it's called. And I'm very hopeful. I'm very excited. I used the vibration plate at the gym, but about 5 or 6 years ago, they got rid of it because I don't know if it kept breaking or someone hurt themselves on it. So they got rid of it. But I remember using it, and I remember feeling amazing getting off of it. So I'm going to have one at the house in the home gym now. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the history of the burpee. People still do that, huh?
Yeah, some interesting stuff.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio.
TaylorMade Health is focused on making sure you're able to perform and look your best. They are a leader in game-changing supplements and cosmetic products. Whether you want to increase strength, expedite recovery, facilitate soft tissue repair, or reduce deep wrinkles, TaylorMade Health has you covered. TaylorMade Health is also the home to Dr. Seed's products such as BPC, BPC Plus, and the Chill Pill. All of my listeners can now get 20% off their first order with code TRY20. That's TRY20. This code can even be used on subscription orders. Visit shrnetwork.biz/try20 today and use code TRY20 for 20% off your first order. Getting a massage post-workout is a proven strategy to facilitate better recovery. Getting to massage therapists can be difficult and expensive, especially in these times. The solution is the Meteor, a heated massage ball from Milestorm. Reduce pain and soreness and expedite recovery with the Meteor's research-backed vibration settings and therapeutic heat. It's convenient for travel and works on any body part. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Meteor and use code SHR15 for 15% off and free shipping if you buy 2 or more. Start recovering better today. Folks, I'm pleased to announce that Pure Nootropics is now carrying the antioxidant alpha-lipoic acid in its bioidentical natural form as R-Ala. R-Ala provides protection in many areas and has even been shown to promote
promote weight loss. Check out the interview I did on episode 2608 back in October to learn more. Our friends at Pure Nootropics have been bringing you great products and deals since 2013, and they have another one with our Ala. Go to shrnetwork.biz/pure and use code SHR30 for a whopping 30% off. Level up. Go Pure.
Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
This is the Superhuman Channel. Evolution just got kicked up a notch.
Welcome back to the Blueprint Power Hour. Brought to you by CoachRobRegish.com. Check it out. Okay, Coach, what is the Blueprint tip of the day?
The tip of the day is the history of the burpee. Now, you had to know this was coming at some point. Burpees, I don't know anyone that looks forward to them. But recently, as cardio for jiu-jitsu, my instructor, I was lamenting one day, no cardio I did ever seemed to translate to jiu-jitsu. He said, build up to 100 burpees. So I took him up on that about a month ago. And that's been my goal, right? 100 burpees. I started not too long ago with 25. I do them every other day, and I add 5 at a whack. So I did 50 yesterday. And I marveled at how just a few minutes of an exercise can so tax, your cardiovascular system, your heart and your lungs. Every time I take a breath in, I can literally feel it. It's almost like your lungs are on fire. So I wanted to look further into the history of this thing to see where it all started, because I sure didn't remember them, from when I was younger. Anyway, way back in 1939, Royal H. Burpee was working double duty as an executive director at a YMCA in New York City and as PhD candidate in applied physiology at Columbia University. And as part of his doctoral research, he was dedicated to figuring out a very simple, fundamental concept. How do you determine someone's physical fitness? Now, he had been a physical guy, athletic guy his whole life. He participated in gymnastics, wrestling, weightlifting. He was also, by all accounts, a very intelligent, demanding perfectionist. And so a career in applied physiology probably appealed, right, to the athlete and the science in him. But back in 1939, few people thought about fitness the way we think about it, right, as like an active pursuit, a very important part of your life. Lifting weights then, anyway, that was for circus people, right? Circus strongman, and running around tracks was for Olympians. And, regular people, if they did anything, they just played regular sports, baseball, basketball, football, or they worked on their feet. Not many people went to the gym. Almost nobody jogged. In his published thesis, Burpee created roughly 300 measures of fitness, trying to figure this out. And he listed those alphabetically. It was everything from age to wrestling. And so as a fitness test, he finally settled on a simple 4-step exercise. 1, squat down, put both hands on the floor in front of you. 2, pop your feet backward into a plank position. 3, bring your feet back forward. And 4, stand back up. That was the original burpee, right? And it's interesting because it's kind of morphed into something even more demanding today. But that was the burpee as it was born by its creator and its namesake. It sounds simple. So do deadlifts. Anybody that, that's pushed themselves on either knows differently. It ain't so simple. So at first, Burpee used the exercise as part of what he called the 7 main tests of physical capacity. He would measure an athlete's standing heart rate, resting heart rate, then have them do 4 burpees, and then test to see how long it took for their heart rate to return to normal. And there in his book, the burpee likely would have stayed if it were not for one historical fluke. The United States enters World War II. And as hundreds of thousands of American men join the armed forces, military leaders realized that they faced a difficult challenge. They needed to figure out exactly how physically fit these people were, at least the recruits. So in late 1941 and 42, Army experts settled on 10 exercises to test the recruits, to test whether or not they were fit, which ones were fit and which ones weren't. One test was, very simply, how many burpees could the soldier do in 20 seconds? Okay. Today, of course, the burpee is firmly entrenched in modern fitness vernacular, if you will, even if everyone dreads it. One could, for example, you could do as many burpees as possible in as short an interval as possible, let's say a minute, or you can do 100 burpees at once, which is what I'm doing. Then I'm going to measure that time, and then I'm going to try to perform 100 in less time. As I said earlier, though, the burpee is kind of morphed into something even more difficult. What is there, a jump and a squat added to it, I think, today, at least in some circles? If that's not tough enough, I read about the following variations. Do 100 burpees as fast as you can, but add 7 kettlebell swings every minute. If you're really feeling sadistic, you can do what's called a burpee mile, in which you do a burpee and then a standing broad jump over and over and over for 5,280 feet. Yes, it exists. And yes, I read several time estimates of how long it takes to complete. Let's just say most people are going to drop before they complete it. Okay. It's more than a little insane. But for cardio anywhere, anytime, that stands up to the toughest cardiovascular challenge, I'd have to say the burpee is very close at the top of the list. Yes, you need good joints. Yes, my elbow bothers me when I do it, but you know what? I still do them. I'm committed to them, and we'll see where it goes. But I did not, even with all my fitness experience, I did not know the history of the burpee, but it makes total sense.
It's fascinating. I mean, I was listening and I was thinking, wow, this is really I always thought it was called a burpee because of the movement. I didn't realize it was a guy whose last name was Burpee.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what?
And you know what? You can see that still today. Every military in the world uses what? Calisthenics.
Yeah. You know what else is like that? I never knew until a couple years ago. The German chocolate cake. I thought it was a chocolate cake made in Germany, like a traditional German chocolate cake, but the baker's last name was German. And that's where the German chocolate cake came from.
Yeah, I guess I would have thought the same. So thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, right. All right, this is a fascinating show. Hope everybody liked it. Share the show, please. That helps us a lot, and it helps the people that you share it with. Go to CoachRobRegish.com and check out everything that Rob offers to help you become stronger tomorrow. And don't forget to go to Synthogen.com and use the code COACH15, COACH15, to save an additional 15% off already discounted multi-bottle packages, plus free shipping inside the contiguous United States.
Yep.
And tomorrow, remember, Eddie Gallagher's on a special episode of Fathers and Sons.
Cool.
Or Hero, American Hero, and it should be fascinating. We'll see everybody tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio, and thank you for being here today. Take care, Rob.
Have a great day.